Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the weekly market analysis. My name is Chloe, and I will go through with you some of the markets that I'm looking at this week. Excuse me. Um, so, just to start off by saying that, as those of you who know me will know, I am a trend trader, and the majority of my market analysis is basically with a view to getting a direction for the week, especially in terms of finding trends, because of course it's only really those markets that are trending that I'm going to be trading moving forward for the week. I predominantly do my market analysis from the top down, so starting with the monthly time frame, going down to the weekly time frame, down to the daily time frame. I do my monthly analysis at the very end of one month, or usually at the very beginning of the new month. I'm not going to have time to go through that process with you guys today, but do feel free to get in touch if you want to know more details of that. So what you will see on my charts are the charts that I use every single week for my analysis for the week. And those charts have already been populated by hand by myself with the specific horizontal levels that I use in my trading, which these levels that you see here in blue, they're basically levels based on the monthly, weekly, and daily time frames that are important historic horizontal levels. And much of my market analysis is based on a roadmap, if you like, of where price is moving from and where it is heading to based on these horizontal levels. So, starting off with euro dollar, this is the weekly chart of euro dollar. And what we can see here is we can see lower highs and lower lows on the weekly time frame. I zoom in a little bit. What I'm talking about here is, let me just draw this in for you guys to make it absolutely clear what I'm looking at. So bearing in mind this is the weekly time frame, I don't need to look really at much past price action. I only really need to look at the most recent, say, 10-ish bars, because of course that is a couple of months worth of data. So in terms of a weekly trend, I'm only really looking at the most recent price action here and whether I see higher highs and higher lows or lower highs and lower lows. And what I see are lower highs and lower lows. So bearing in mind that I have a strong horizontal level just at this point here, what I'm anticipating is another lower high forming. Last week closed as this bullish candle. So price has pulled back, it has retraced up to this horizontal level. I'm anticipating potentially a lower high forming at that point in order to continue the downtrend. So if we go down to the daily time frame now, we can see this very clearly, the lower highs and lower lows on the daily time frame. Price has pulled back up almost to this horizontal level. And what I'm looking out for in the coming week is evidence to show me that this has become a high, at which point price turns back around, moves down, and perhaps moves down towards my next horizontal level down here. So I'm bearish on euro dollar based on the weekly trend, based on the daily trend, and based on the fact that price has now pulled back to this horizontal level. I'm looking out for an indication that price is returning to the downtrend at this point. Now, is it a guarantee that that will happen? Absolutely not. Price could easily come back above this horizontal level, but this is just something that I'm looking out for because I would like to see the downtrend return, because as a trend trader, the only direction I can trade this is short currently. So that's what I'm looking for this week. Now, the one thing that does concern me a little bit is that on this daily time frame, this is a bit more of a complex retracement, which means we do actually have within this retracement a higher low here and a higher high. I don't particularly like that price action. It's an indication that the momentum of this downward move could be coming to an end. Having said that, the horizontal level is strong, and so I will be looking out for a return to the downtrend here. Moving on to cable. So cable on the weekly time frame is much more bullish than the euro. It's on the weekly time frame. I cannot really call this a downtrend because really what I see is a range. This big box here, a big range from the highs around here down to the lows around here. And what I envisage is that price has hit the lows down here, this horizontal level, it's bounced from there, and it could in fact even be heading back up to the highs of that range. It certainly looks like on the daily time frame there are lower highs and lower lows, but at this point here, this retracement here is much stronger than I would expect if I was expecting a return to the downtrend. So what I would be expecting at this point here would be something more like, where's my pen? Something a little bit more like perhaps a higher low and then a move up. And the move up could even come all the way back up to the high of the range eventually. So that's something that I am looking out for. So on the daily time frame, I am now bullish. On the lower time frames as well, of course, 4 hourly, we do have an uptrend there. The most interesting thing for me at the moment on cable is not necessarily that I'm going to trade it itself, but the fact that I'm bearish on euro and bullish on pound then makes me want to look at euro GBP as a cross. Because if I'm bearish on euro and bullish on pound, then I would naturally be bearish on euro GBP. And that is particularly interesting to me because I don't know how many of you guys listening were also listening or in attendance at the Bali live trading a couple of months ago. One of the things that I was really strongly looking out for back then was a break to the downside on Euro GBP. So this is the weekly time frame here, and we were back in May. So sometime around here, I think it was this week here, I was looking for a break to the downside on Euro GBP because of the fact that we have all of this support around here and we have lower highs on this weekly time frame as well. So it's a little bit like a descending triangle. So I was waiting for this to break to the downside. It didn't happen then and there, and in fact it has taken 2 months. But if we go now to the daily time frame, we can see here we've had several bounces at this horizontal level, but I'm still keeping an eye on it, still lower highs and the same lows. And eventually, right over here, we have finally had that breakdown. And the reason I was looking at it back in May is because I was, and as I explained to everybody back then, once I find a chart pattern that I like the look of, that I think, okay, here is a level, and if it breaks, I am expecting a strong move, then that is when I want to be planning for my trades. So it's no good once it's already broken, because that move's already happened. I want to be planning all of this time so that exactly when it breaks, I'm like, oh, I saw this potentially was going to happen a couple of months ago, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and now here it is, it's happening. So this was something that those of you who trade with me on the Income Creator hopefully would have caught that this week, because we were looking at it at the last week, because we were looking at it at the beginning of the week. So on the daily time frame here, we have the same low, we have this horizontal level through here. We have now had the break of the level. This was a really nice opportunity here. Now that this has happened, there isn't really for me a strong horizontal level on Euro GBP really until all the way down here. So I am now looking at a pullback potentially, and then more moves to the downside. I will be trading this short until I see technical evidence not to. So I am bearish on Euro GBP. Moving on then to Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar on the weekly time frame, looking bearish. Now, what I see here on Aussie dollar potentially, and this is bearing in mind this is the weekly time frame, so this is a large span of time to be looking at, but it does look to me like there is the potential for the setup of a head and shoulders pattern there. And if it is a head and shoulders pattern, it could take a couple of months for this pattern to actually kind of materialize, but it is something that I'm looking out for. So if price does pull back above this horizontal level, then I will be bullish for a period, but I will be looking overall for a return to the downside eventually. At the moment, price is beneath this major horizontal level. We can see this horizontal level from all the way back here. So we're beneath there. We are bearish on the daily time frame, lower highs and lower lows. Price has pulled back to the horizontal level. So while on the bigger weekly time frame, I'm anticipating potentially a right-hand shoulder forming up here. In the shorter term, what I'm actually looking for is I'm actually looking for a bounce underneath this level for a return to the downtrend. So either thing could happen. It just depends what the market does over the next couple of days. Does it bounce short or does it return back above? But certainly in the shorter term, I will be looking for shorts on Aussie dollar. Kiwi dollar. On the weekly time frame, I'm bearish. We have lower highs, lower lows. We've broken beneath this previous low. We're kind of somewhere in the middle of this area between these two horizontal levels. On the daily time frame, lower highs, lower lows, a pullback just happening now. I am bearish on Kiwi dollar and waiting for a return to the downside here. And I'd be looking really for price to get down to this next horizontal level down here. Apologies if you can't read these levels. It's around 0.5508 ish, but that's where I would be looking for price to be headed to the downside if it does return to the downside here. Moving on to dollar yen. So dollar yen on the weekly time frame. Last week was a very indecisive week. It's a quite big candle, very small body. So it opened and closed not a million miles apart with long tails or wicks above and below the candle. So a pretty indecisive candle. Interestingly, it did break above this previous high over here, which is a major horizontal level. So price did break above there. If we look at it on a daily time frame, it's a pretty strong reaction from there. It was a pretty strong price, did not like it up there. And the sellers really did strongly come back into the market. But in terms of trend, we do still have higher lows and higher highs. I am still bullish currently, but because of the very strong reaction at this level, I'm not particularly going to be interested in trading long up into that level. That still does offer significant resistance up there. So I won't be trading up into that level. But if price does reach above that level, then yes, I will be looking out for longs. On shorter time frames, it might be possible still to trade long here and take profits before that level. But the other thing I will be looking out for is a potential turnaround here. Because it was such a strong reaction at this level, we could now be in for a lower high and then a further move to the downside. So as things currently stand, I am bullish, but this horizontal level really is in the way for me at the moment. We'll cover a few more yen pairs a bit later on. First of all, dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss on the weekly time frame. This is at a kind of key area for me because we have seen dollar Swiss. Let me just see if I can get that onto the chart. We've seen dollar Swiss come down. So this horizontal level here, price has been beneath there recently. But really it has mainly been trapped in this range here. Let me draw it for you, just to be clear. So this range here, between those two horizontal levels, that's where price has mainly been trapped for the last year, basically, apart from the little dips that it's had below there. But most of the price action for the last year has been within those two horizontal levels. So the fact that price has now recently come back up from beneath that range all the way to the top of the range, and it has actually broken up through the top of that range. Now that could be a false break, and price could now trade all the way back down to the bottom of the range. That's one option. And if that is going to happen, bearing in mind we're on a weekly time frame here, if that is going to happen, there will be plenty of space to trade short, potentially, probably not on a daily time frame for me because the trend filters that I require won't be met. But certainly on an intraday time frame, I now have one option, which is to trade this from the top of this range down to the bottom of this range, which is I would say, a likely place for price to be headed based on the fact that it has spent most of the last year trading between these two levels. So I will be looking out for potential shorts between where price currently is and the bottom of the range down here. And that's especially going to be true because here on the daily time frame, we do have a little bit of a lower high here and lower low, which we can more clearly see on the 4-hourly time frame there. We can definitely see a move to the downside. Potential pullback followed by a further move to the downside is not outside of the realms of possibility here. That having been said, the daily price action here does show a higher low and a higher high. So if another higher low forms here and price moves back up to the upside, if and when it gets above this horizontal level, I will be bullish and looking for long opportunities because then I see the next place that it could go would be up at this next horizontal level here. I find that dollar Swiss and the Swiss pairs tend to respect their horizontal levels and move between those horizontal levels really, really well, really nicely. So I'm happy to trade from the top to the bottom of this range. If that's where price is headed, I would also be happy to trade if price gets back above this horizontal level up to the next horizontal level. Either one of those options for me would be absolutely fine. Moving on to dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, I am still bullish on dollar CAD. So we've strongly broken above this major horizontal level just here with a couple of weeks of really, really strong buying price action. We're now kind of sitting in the middle of these two horizontal levels here. I'm anticipating a potential pullback at this point because this is a long extended move, but I am still bullish. Higher lows, higher highs on the daily time frame. Just seeing a bit of sideways consolidation here. I'm looking out for longs on dollar CAD all the way up to the next horizontal level up here, 1.4466. Moving on to, actually, I'm going to cover I'll do all the Forex first before I move on to the commodities. So just looking at fairly briefly at a couple more yen pairs. Pound yen, this is the weekly time frame of pound yen. I am still bullish because we do still have higher lows here. And what we see is the highs are starting to gather into a horizontal level up here. We still have higher lows, What I'm really looking for right now, yes, I am bullish. I'm not trading long, and I won't be trading long until this level here is broken, because this to me is forming a horizontal level. If that level does get broken, and we're not far off, then I will be looking out for long opportunities up there. So that's pound yen. Euro yen is a little less attractive to me, because this is a definite lower high here on the weekly time frame. So it's definitely looking sluggish. The daily time frame isn't really showing me any trend at all. It's just really a sideways range. In fact, there's definitely a level there. If price gets above this level here, then I will be more bullish, but we can't ignore the fact that there's another level just up here that price has struggled as well. So this really is a little more tricky for me to trade. It's just a kind of sideways range at the moment. Swiss yen also. So Swiss yen very much in a range between those highs up there, these lows down here. Daily time frame, we can really clearly see there's no trend there. And I would be looking for a break either above these highs or below these lows before I can really trade on Swiss yen. Euro Aussie. So Euro Aussie, this is the weekly time frame, and we have this kind of double bottom over here, followed by some bullish price action, which on the daily time frame we can clearly now see higher lows and higher highs. So price is currently retracing, but what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a higher low to form, at which point I will then start looking for bullish price action, long trades, perhaps even up to this horizontal level up here. Pound Aussie. So pound Aussie, I'm also bullish. This is the weekly time frame. So again, we have started to see now higher lows on this weekly time frame, daily time frame, higher lows, higher highs. We've broken above this horizontal level here. Again, I'm anticipating some kind of a pullback at this point. Once that's completed, then I will be continuing to look for long opportunities on pound Aussie. Finally, I think for the Forex, we have got Singapore dollar. So Singapore dollar on the weekly time frame, we have higher lows and higher highs. We can see that more clearly on the daily time frame. Higher lows, higher highs. We had this, I'll just draw it in to make it a little bit clearer, but it was an inverted head and shoulders pattern there. Hopefully you can see that. Left hand shoulder, head, right hand shoulder. There's the neckline in red there. So we broke up through there, pulled back, didn't retest it, unfortunately, to the pip. It was a much deeper pullback, but it still gave us a higher low, therefore still bullish and continuing. So I'm looking for a new higher low, which could perhaps form at this point here, and then I will be looking for a continuation of the uptrend on Singapore dollar. So that's it for all of the Forex pairs I wanted to cover. Let's go to some commodities. So gold is one of the main things that I love to trade. I love to trade gold. Weekly time frame here has been bearish. However, there is a horizontal level just here, which last week we actually had a bullish candle. These two candles here, both of them have long tails, rejection of the support level. The support level has managed to hold up price. Last week was a bullish week. It will be very interesting to see whether the high of last week gets taken out, because if it does, that will be a bullish sign. On the daily time frame, we do have lower highs and lower lows, but it does look a little bit like there is a double bottom here, probably more clearly visible. In fact, looks a bit like a triple bottom on the 4-hourly time frame, and then we've already had higher lows and higher highs on this 4-hour time frame. Daily time frame, a little bit less clear, But I will be looking potentially, it's a little bit premature for me, but I will be looking potentially for a real higher low on this daily time frame. Let's kind of start to draw a few of these things. So perhaps a higher low and then a break of the high as well. And therefore finally a return to the uptrend that ended at the beginning of the year. Or alternatively, we could even see price going up here and giving a higher high, followed by a higher low, and then at that point, I would be looking for potential longs. Or of course, we could at this point see a lower high, a return to the downtrend. If that gets beneath this level, then I will be bearish. So any return beneath this horizontal level here, 4047.38-ish, any return below that level and I will be bearish again. But if price comes down to that level and bounces again, then I will definitely be bullish. So at the moment on gold, it's a little bit of a kind of wait and see moment because of the fact that we are at this horizontal level and it just remains to be seen exactly what is going to happen here. Is price going to bounce or is it going to break? Weekly time frame here, last week it did bounce. So that suggests to me certainly the potential for a return to the uptrend. Or at least a return up to this next horizontal level here, at which point it could turn around again. So for this week, my plan is I'm going to wait and see where this upwards move ends. If it ends around here and forms a lower high, then I will be looking for price to come beneath the horizontal level and trade short. If it continues upwards, then I will be looking to see then what the reaction is going to be at this point here. Now, if price continues upwards, is it tradable? Absolutely yes. It could be tradable, but it's unlikely it would be tradable on my strategy. So really for my strategy, I need to trade it above this level here or beneath this level here. So that's what I'm looking out for. Silver, fairly similar in that it was a bullish week last week, but it's not really bouncing at a horizontal level. So that doesn't give me as much of an indication that price could be turning around. And in fact, I'm just looking at these lower highs and lower lows. I'm waiting for a new lower high to form, at which point I will continue to trade short on silver. The stock indices, US 500, so very strong week last week. So I am bullish on the US 500. Daily time frame, certainly we have seen a move up, a pause, and then a strong close to the final day of trading for last week. So I am bullish on the US 500. I am bullish also on the US 100, not as much so because this looks more like a consolidation to me, really. We're seeing lower highs and higher lows. So I am bullish, but I won't be trading it long. I will be waiting for this consolidation to play out and see if there's going to be a breakout of that. UK 100, definitely bullish. Finished strongly last week. Has broken out of this, which was a symmetrical triangle pattern, lower highs, higher lows, broke out of that and has since been trading long. Also broken above this kind of minor horizontal level here, these highs that we're gathering at this horizontal level. So we've broken above that. I am looking for longs on the UK 100. And finally, I don't feel it would be complete without talking about the crude oils. But just to first of all say I'm not trading the crude oils at the moment. Obviously bearish because of what's going on in the world, but this could literally change at any moment, and it's so volatile at the moment and so dependent on what Trump says one minute and all of that kind of thing. So yes, I am bearish. It has reached now this horizontal level here. So I am actually expecting a low to form and perhaps a pullback, a bullish pullback. But I'm not going to be trading it. It's too risky for me at the moment to trade that. A little bit more room to the downside here on WTI. But again, I'm not going to be trading it myself. There are plenty of other things for me to be trading. Um, I don't really need to be dipping my toes in something that Trump could screw up at any moment. So that is my analysis of some of the major currency pairs that I am going to be trading this week. I hope you found it useful. Please do, if anyone's got any questions or anything like that, then please do forward those on to me. I'd be happy to chat about anything that isn't clear or anything else that you want analysed or whatever. Here to help. So happy trading, guys. Have a fantastic week, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Cheers, everyone.